Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained government remote viewer. I have all my psychic skills trained, honed, perfected, watched by scientists and military personnel, but also I watch myself. Once I started working with people privately in the 90s, I wanted to see my accuracy. I wanted to see if people could count on what it was that I said. And if they couldn't, because it wasn't really almost 100% accurate, I didn't want to do it. I'm very accurate. I'm very pleased. I've worked very hard to reach this point that I am at today. I don't think that modesty is a part of Revelations or where we're going to be next. I think the whole thing, the whole energy of make yourself less than what you are, etc., is a part of the lie that has kept us all trapped to where we're in places we don't want to be, with people we don't necessarily want to be with, and with a future that we do not necessarily want to reach. That's a big problem. Too many people would really, they wouldn't have a problem giving up in terms of life. It wouldn't be that big an issue. Actually, many people decide to leave via an illness and die. Oh, darn, I got sick. Did you want to live? Of course. Let's send you to an intention specialist. Let's find out. Turned out you didn't. So I think it's important that everything be based on truth. That being said, I really enjoy what I'm doing, and what I am doing, and I am enjoying the mapping process because everything is moving in the right direction. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be enjoying this. I'm going to review with you yesterday's map. This is yesterday's map of the United States. California, getting better. This is the first time in years that there's been something other than red there. And we already know about the state of California catastrophes, insecurities, perhaps people not making a lot of sense. Okay, we have the protection from the Galactic Federation. That's what the Merkaba is. There's several of them. Um, the energy of heart and healing in Florida, which has to do with Elon Musk and Trump. It's had a few setbacks with black magic. They got cleared. We're back to the green, which is heart and healing. This is good, especially with what's going on with how people, frustrated people, found a new object to direct their hatred towards. I'm telling you, the big issue on the planet is an excess of the fire element. Oh, yeah, but that's not. Hello, you cannot fight. You cannot argue. You can't have insomnia. You can't kill. You can't commit suicide unless there's an excess of the fire element. So now it's against Tesla. It was against Trump and still is with a lot of people. One day you will be willing to listen to a modern day shaman and go, okay, let's deal with the excess fire element. And then when we tell you what it is that you can do, it should be done at a higher level than what I by myself can achieve. You go, well, that's not that hard. Yeah, I know it's not that hard. It's a belief system. Okay, here in the Northeast, which is where there was some kind of a meeting weeks ago, and the people in the meeting were so angry that they created an earthquake. Mother Earth took on that excess fire and rage, and so that was weeks ago. So yesterday, what I sketched was a death roll. That's when an alligator grabs you, and that's it. Once the alligator starts to twirl you around in the water, that's the death roll. That's it. It's over. A death roll here. This is good. It's okay. And then worldwide compliments on disclosure and conspiracies. This is good. So today is even better. There's a lot less red here. There's no longer a spiraling. I think the death roll is over and the alligator did not win. Or maybe the alligator did win. Maybe what's happening in the United States in terms of revelations was what took this all down. The point of the matter is the bad guys I don't think they got out of the death row. We still have great, but even stronger, the healing energy in Florida, which has to do with Trump and Elon, the friendship, etc. Mexico's looking really good. I didn't take the time to sketch it. I think next week I'm going to try sketching more countries. The heart in the center of the United States, part of it's green and the other half is black. Okay, so yes, of course we're depressed. Canada, totally unstable spiritually. You know what's interesting? I had a couple of clients from Canada years ago, shocking Anglo clients. I was shocked that they had one foot in black magic. They didn't call it black magic, they call it Wicca, being a Wicca like a modern day witch. They were into black magic. Oh, that's weird. Not good. I'm not saying that's the issue with Canada, but it doesn't say Canada totally unstable. It says Canada totally unstable spiritually. What's the problem? You'll find out in a few minutes when I'll tell you what's happening with the underworld on planet Earth. And then we have Earth rumbling. There's underground happenings. And I'll talk about that now. This is that protection that creates a separate individual reality for the United States. Same thing for Mexico. What does that mean? That what they said in the Bible, that the world would divide into two groups, and one group would and kind of be okay, and the other group and not. That's, I believe, what's going on. Are you protected from the underworld? So now let me explain what it is that I've discovered in the last several days in my, let's say, classes. We human beings have been created with energy centers called chakras and energy bodies, and that's been known forever. And it's only been since the 600 years of modern science that the Catholic Church did not allow for modern science to investigate alternative other dimensions, etc. So it's only been 600 years when we've not been aware of a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. We've been deprived. And in other countries where they did have that information, the more modern people with more money, of course, kind of walked away from their spiritual beliefs because obviously in this part of the world, people with the money and everything were modern and they made it without that information. Wrong. Okay, so we were constructed a certain way, and I will now put up this graphic that for whatever reason, I can't put it up just in one half. It takes over the whole thing. Here are your energy centers. Okay, no problem. The red one at the base of your spine is your root chakra. Between that and the next one down, called the Atala, there was a division, a veil, a wall. And what's underneath there is what the Catholic Church calls hell, Hell, and what in metaphysics is known as the underworld. But you notice that the seven energy centers at the bottom are, are on the body, your body, my body, everybody's body. They're not like generic for the planet. I'm sure this planet does also have those energy centers. But right now we're talking about yours and mine. So there was a line there. I had a hard time getting the graphic artist to put that horizontal line there. Okay, it turns out that between when I asked for this graphic to be changed and now, that line, that division, that veil between dimensions and between worlds disappeared. Now there was a I'm struggling with this because I wrote a lot about this. It's not there anymore. So I wrote a lot about something that's not there anymore. That's not so fun. And I can see people hanging on to old belief systems saying, well, whatever. So there was a door in between the two sets of chakras that you have. I'm going to talk about you right now. There was a door. It was called the Brahmavara. How did I find that? Because nobody talks about that. And on the internet in English, I think I'm the only person that talks about it. And I'm not sure, well, there must be more in Hinduism, because that's where I got it from. I used to sit and read dictionaries for yoga, dictionaries for Hinduism, for metaphysics. I'd skip the book and go to the dictionary. I found out a lot, and I found the Brahmavara, which is the door to hell, which is the door in that wall between the part of you that's conscious and the subconscious, which is underneath. So it wasn't just a wall, it was a wall with a door, but that door had to be closed and it would fly open whenever there was a really big, let's go back to you, had a really big crisis. Now, let's say you had a horrendous crisis. You were in a car accident and your sister died. That's huge. You would fragment because it's just too much. But that fragment would go someplace because you just couldn't tolerate thinking about that all day long and remember the images of her dead body, whatever. That fragment, first place, that door would pop open because it opened with fear. And this piece that you fragmented that holds the memory, the images, your reactions would go down to hell, the underworld, your own personal one, and it would lodge in one of those 7 centers that would correspond to the event. So that would be there. So here you are, you're okay, you finally pull yourself together. 6 months later, you're kind of able to go back to work, and then every once in a while, somebody would remind you of this, and you'd go into the fear again. The door would flip open, and then all of a sudden, you could see the images, and then you'd work with yourself, and then you'd do whatever it is you do, and then those images would go back down. The door would close back up. Okay. But you didn't have to live minute to minute every day since you lost your sister. You didn't have to live minute to minute every day since you were raped. You didn't have to live with whatever it is that's so awful that you just can't deal with it. Consciously, you have to continue to function. It would go down there. Okay. Traditionally, you would hire, contract, speak to, ask a shaman, and they would do something they call soul retrieval. That happens with mantras. You don't need to go looking for that anymore. But what what they would do, they would know that a piece of you fragmented because of a big trauma. And maybe you didn't even know what the trauma was, but they would still. So this shaman would prepare themselves with herbs and with rituals, and they would choose a power animal, and they called it soul retrieval. You can look it up. And they would go down into the underworld. What they didn't know, they didn't tell us, and I didn't know either till not so long ago, is they would go through that door into your underworld, and they would find that fragment, bring it back up, and put it back where it's supposed to be with you. I'm assuming they must have also given you healing, because putting it back as damaged as it was before would not have worked. So that's what you had to do if you had a big trauma and you had a big fragment. Or I'm sure there were other therapies that if you did them enough, you could retrieve that part of you. Not just talk about that part of you, which is the problem with psychology. Talk, 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 without taking into consideration the definition of emotion, which means to move out, etc. But we're not going to go into my opinions about how we have not had the help that we could have had if we had been allowed, as a science, as a culture, to delve into the other dimensions. Okay, so here we come to this time. And people are acting really weird. There's too much fire. People are out of control, whatever. And I had said 2 years ago that our etheric webbing, which is like the Higgs field, but in the shape of it's not just the Higgs field, which is the backdrop that reality is created on, you, your life, whatever. And it's really a series of grids, one on top of the other, horizontal and vertical. They align perfectly, so they create little squares, and energy moves through them in an orderly fashion. Okay. So I had said a couple years ago that that was going to disappear. Well, you can't have the Higgs field disappear, because then you're like floating. Exactly. So 2 weeks ago in my classes, where I would always, part of what I offered and gave in that class was to go down underneath your root chakra and close that door. Because for a lot of people, it was always open. And those would be people that are always hysterical. When the door closes, all of a sudden everything's calm. And before, I don't know now, if somebody was hysterical over there and you could do what I do, you could go and close that door in them. And all of a sudden, there's no crisis anymore. They're not screaming, ranting, and raving. All of a sudden, they feel so much better because they're not having to deal with what's down there. Okay, that works. 2 weeks ago in the class, I go down there. I'm going to close that door. Normally, I close the door, and then a really cute elephant lays on top of the door on his back with the four legs and kind of fun. Okay, that works. So 2 weeks ago, there was not one door, there were like four doors. I'm not sure that there were four doors, but there were four elephants. I went, this is really weird. One on each corner at the level of the hips, not right underneath your pelvis, but on the outside. And I said to everybody, something's going on here. Then a week later, there was no door. There was no veil wall division between the upper set of energy center. There was none. What the Catholic Church calls hell is no longer separate from us. Well, I guess we could call our subconscious is no longer separate from us, from our consciousness. You can no longer get away from the traumas you haven't finished resolving. It's over. It's a mixing of worlds. It's revelations. This is part of you. Part of you's down there. I saw that, and every class that I gave, I would always go back there, and I was expecting it to come back. It's not coming back, guys. The division between us and our subconscious, which is what the Catholic Church calls hell, it's called the underworld. There's no division. We're going to be living with that. We are starting to live with that. It was said that at the end of March, things were going to get really complicated. This started to happen, or this happened like a week ago. End of March. The event that happened December 21st, 2012, that the Mayans anticipated centuries before then, the Mayans said that the Mayans said that there was a need for a new calendar. Things were going to be so different. The world that we knew it would not be the same. And they had to start a new calendar. So you go, why do you have to new calendar? Just put it, the date, mark the date, and that's it. And no, it has to be a new calendar. That was a day that planet Earth aligned perfectly with Sagittarius, a supermassive black hole. It aligned perfectly with planet Earth for 8 minutes. And what it did, at that point, that door to hell, the Brahmavara, was already broken. BP oil accident in the Gulf of America. That door was broken. Planet Earth no longer the same. And it has taken until now for that door plus that wall to be gone. Okay, what's going to happen? What the Mayans said was going to happen in the Tortuguero prophecy. The stuff from our subconscious rises up down there. It's here. And we have to deal with that. We have to deal with ourselves. Now, today I was in X, where I get my news, and somebody was saying, we may end up seeing some congressmen in cuffs. I think that we will. And I think they are going to be more shocked than we are because they didn't expect this, because you can hide all this stuff, and they've been able to hide so many things, as we have all been able to hide so many things. So it's going to get very, very, very messy. And it turns out that we are going to have to take on a full-time job in addition to everything else, having to do with protecting ourselves. And here is where we get this. I just realized it right now. This is what this circle, which creates a separate reality, an individualized reality. I believe that's where this comes in. It was this same type of thing that was between us and the underworld since the planet started. It's gone because of revelations. So, does this mean the United States will be better positioned? Not 100% sure because people in this country have too many electronic devices which radiate Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi breaks natural protections that we have that the spirits that allow the spirits to come in. What is my point? Where am I going with all of this? Where I'm going with all of this is that when everybody says something big is going to happen, yeah, something big is going to happen. Is it going to be like one event? It's possible. Is it going to be a series of events? It's possible. Is it going to be a total chaos in society? I think that will be more. I feel that that would be more what it is that's going to happen. But you can create your individualized reality. But you can't just say, I want an individualized reality. You have to have a frequency. The same as the United States had to achieve a frequency aligned with revelations, which is a planetary cycle. And because of that, the Galactic Federation gave us that protection, which we still have. You have to have a certain frequency. And guess what, guys? That frequency means that you're going to have to deal with that crap that's underneath, that's in your subconscious, but it's no longer contained in your subconscious. And that's problematic, being it that you didn't even know there was a door there. You didn't know there was a wall there. You don't even believe in energy centers. You don't believe in spirits. How can you not believe in spirits? What religion are you associated with? How can you be Christian and not be saying continuously when something happens, you know what? Somebody needs to take care of that spirit. When somebody behaves really badly and it's really not compatible with who they are, they have a spirit attachment. Why are we asking the person, why are you behaving like this? What we have to do is ask them, what happened to you that you're so broken that this spirit is able to take over and change you? We need to do that like really quick. You want protection? Then you need to have a frequency. And it's not, oh, I want to vibe higher. I love it. When people say that, I look at them and I go, okay, go ahead, vibe higher. Because you see, astral particles and spirits have a weight in the other dimension. So if you haven't cleared the spirits and you have a lot of astral particles of rage and depression, you weigh more, your frequency is heavier, and you're not going to get that frequency that you need in order to vibe higher, in order to be able to earn the protection. So, belief systems, very important. Okay, so let me go on with other things. I had a chat yesterday, and at some point in the chat, I felt like something like kind of moved. Obviously, spirits, the other dimensions. Okay, no problem. And then one of the people in the chat sent me some screenshots, and I'm going to show them to you now. When this whatever energy moved, a moment or two later, I said, oh, there's a spirit at the door. I get a lot of people from the spirit world. I get a lot of spirits that visit while I'm doing my chats. And I always talk about it. I mean, that's how I saw Adam Schiff and how we talked about it on the chats because he kept showing up. Okay, so this was a spirit. It was huge. It was all hairy. I don't recognize if I did not recognize the spirit. I wasn't going to interrupt my chat because I did learn a lot of discipline in the military. Focus. I was in the middle of the chat. I continued. And then I got the screenshots from which I'm going to put up. And you will see it here. So here, you're going to see the screenshot, which is regular. I'm very dramatic. Remember, I'm half Cuban. So I'm saying something there. Who knows what? And then here, can you see what is my left shoulder? You see that green there? Okay, let me go back. There's nothing there. And there's that there. But she wasn't the only one who took that picture. Several other people did. What happened after that? I will tell you, because I believe that's the reason why I got the visit. What was I working? I was working on clearing everything from your jaw up, half of the throat chakra, third eye, and crown chakra. And I discovered that human beings, we have a cap on us that's metallic and that is screwed in with screws that are this long. Now, anytime you find something inside the human system that's metallic, that's a galactic implant. That's the way the galactic bad guys do black magic. It was this whole cap. So the spirit guys that work with me were taking it off and unscrewing screws that were this long and deep. Now, we have always questioned, and then the information that came that I was given was this was an implant, a black magic that was put on all human beings at the time of Pompeii. Do you remember Pompeii? Pompeii is a city in Italy, and they had a volcanic eruption, and the city got inundated with the lava, and they all died. And then it was excavated. I actually visited there when I lived in Europe. But the most interesting thing about the Pompeii that I remember, and that maybe there's a reason why I remember it, is there was comments that they found so many different places that seemed to have to do with sex. They were like, the graphics on the walls were all like pornography. Oh, okay. So in Pompeii, a lot of pornography. But it was during the time of Pompeii when this black magic metallic cap was put on us. Now, I have always said that everything about Jesus Christ on the cross is a message to us, not to accept, but to look at it and ask, what is that all about? What is it that I need to know? Jesus was telling us that we don't have access to our third eye. That is on the third eye. He didn't put it there. So I was like, wow. And then everybody in the class, but it turned out that I did it. Okay, so here we go. Superpowers again. I'm not going to worry about you clicking off just because you don't believe me. Click off if you want. I don't care. That means I'll have 5 people watching this instead of 7 because I already lost another person. It's okay. I cleared that off of the people that were in my chat, and there were not that many, but I cleared it for the whole planet. Okay, so what does that mean? 30 years ago, some really good psychic said that I would be downloading things on planet Earth for the whole planet. That was like my job. Okay. I believe that I have been doing that, and I believe I did it yesterday. But here's the cute part, because there is a cute part. Do you remember the astronauts that came in that Elon Musk saved? The female? I forget her name. Do you remember her hair? Okay. Since the first day I saw her in space with the hair, I was struck by it. I was like mesmerized with her hair. She had roots that there was this gray roots, and then the hair, and it was. When I took that cap off yesterday, everybody looked like that. Their mind strings. So that metallic cap was holding back our mind streams in our third eye, in our crown chakra connection to God, in the next several chakras, which have to do with galactic off planet. Totally truncated, totally controlled. That happened last night. See, the class was at 8, 8:15, 8:20. And today, everybody looks like that. So if any of you found yourself really taken with the way this woman's hair looked, Maybe that's the reason why. I'm going to put it up because I do believe I have it here. So this is what you look like. This is what, see those mind streams? The green ones hanging. Okay. That we all have that. But the ones at the head, now we got to ask, how come I was sketching this when they were all controlled by that mask? I think I was sketching the ideal, which is like a fan. And I think that Jesus Christ was saying a no-go on that. And nobody paid attention. Besides which, if you're a Christian, you can't deal with the third eye, can you? You can't. And yet in the Bible it says, there's a quote where it says that you're complete once you have one eye. Not two, one eye. Get over the disinformation that you've been given. Get over it. Okay, now I'm going to take an aside here because I'm afraid I'm going to lose the information. I don't like AI because years ago, somebody was working with a machine that was like AI, but it was not like for art. And she had me read it. Everybody was like, oh, read it. How come this works? Oh my God, this is so great. When I read it a month later, she literally threw away the machine and it was several $1,000s. We all asked her, why'd you do that? She didn't say a word. She was a Taurus. They don't talk, they don't share. She believed me. And I knew that I was accurate, but what value does it have? Turns out that that machine, it's a radionics machine, is connected to a planet that does not like planet Earth or human beings. So when she was using the machine, she was basically connecting her people to these bad galactics. Okay. Next, AI. On X, somebody had the most incredible picture of a dolphin. Oh my God, I was in love. I didn't even know the person. I said, listen, I need to buy this photograph from you. I want it. I need it. I need it. I need it. I need it. AI does that to you, by the way. And he said, okay, no, you can just have it. You don't have to pay for it. It's okay. Don't worry. And I became intrigued by how caught up I was with that picture of the dolphin. It was really beautiful. But something in me, that intuitive part of me was like, wait a minute. Why am I so caught up with this? Wait a minute. And when I looked, I saw that photograph wasn't a photograph, it was a piece of art, AI graphic, was attached to Orion. Basically, not basically, AI products, regardless of the product, that little mystery thing, how did we do this? You didn't do it. Your computer didn't do it. A group of really savvy and vicious ETs did that. And they made it to where you would feel the way I feel, except I can feel feelings more than most people. I wanted that picture. I had to have that picture. I wanted to go inside the picture. It was delicious. That's the feeling. Delicious. And I knew that was not normal. So AI, every piece of AI is a portal to Orion, which is the planet that took us down. It gets iffy here because there is no time frame in the other dimensions. Orion took us down. I'm not going to get into the next part because it makes it too complicated. So I want to tell you another thing about AI. I watched for years a person who specialized in disinformation. We're talking about decades ago, not today. Specialized in disinformation. And he taught me something. He didn't teach me verbally. As I watched him work, I understood. With disinformation, what you do is you give out totally accurate information, and that gets people hooked. People sign on, they believe. And then there's one piece of information or two, not even necessarily that big, but that piece of information, or those two pieces of information, is you're here and you're accepting it all. Yeah, that's great. Kind of pulls you off, and you end up moving in a different direction. Good disinformation is 99% accurate. That is what they're doing with AI. You're getting something that you want, and you're not noticing that there's something else going on. And you're following what it is that you want. And I think a lot of people are getting this feeling of, this is too good to be true. In my case, this is too delicious looking. This is just is not feeling right. I think that AI can take the planet down, but AI is not going to take the planet down. It's going to be the beings that control human beings via AI that's going to take the planet down. And there we go all the way back to the whole issue of, you don't even know what's a human being. You don't know about your energy bodies. You don't know about spirits. You don't know about when people get drunk and they turn into animals, or they turn into depressives or whatever. You're not aware of the role of spirits in that. You don't even know about your own spirit, because you think it's not going to roll around until your physical body dies, and then your family can deal with it. You have one since conception. You don't even know anything about it, which is why I want to find out what the Mayans knew about that, because it may help us in this space. I asked the dolphins, because I have the most adorable PowerPoint on the relationship between your car and sex that I did 13 years ago. And I gave it to somebody to make it better. And she used AI. And she did it so quickly, and I asked her for a change, and she said, "I'll be back in 10 minutes." She came back with the change 10 minutes later. I was like, "No, no, wait a minute. How did you do that?" "Oh, no, I just put it through AI." And I went, "No, no." And she went, "What do you mean, no?" I said, "I don't want AI." She said, "You didn't tell me." And it was true. I did not tell her. I paid her. So that was not the issue. The issue was I paid her for something that she loved, and I did too. And it was not going to get any place. So I went back to it, because I'm putting that information in the book that should be out this week, having to do with sex. The subtitle is "We Need to Get This Figured Out." And so I asked the dolphins, I said, "Listen, this AI thing we need some help here." And so I said, "Can I use this PowerPoint?" And they said that they had taken care of whatever the issue was that AI gives us. And basically what they said to me is, every single thing with AI has a tube attached to it, a channel. I guess if science gets into this at whatever time somebody gives them permission to be able to get into this alternative stuff, um, they're going to find it's uh, like a black hole. They will call it a black hole because they can't see what's on each side, at each end. The black hole is the Holy Grail. It's double terminated funnel. It's the center axis of you, but it's the center axis of a lot of things. Basically, when you have that, you have this whole creation thing. But there's one of those tubes from everything we have from AI to Orion, and Orion just wants to take us down. And if you look at history, go forward, they do take us down. So I'm working with the dolphins to see if there's something that can be done. That same tube, we all human beings have in back of their liver. Now, the liver is the organ, and I'm going too long. We have that in the back of the liver, and you can cut it. And what that tube delivers into the liver is the energy of evil. Go back and look at Jesus Christ on the cross. The lance, where did it pierce? The liver. Why would we need to know that? Jesus was trying to give us information on how things could get that bad, that he's giving a good message, and he's ending up crucified. So I think I've done enough talking. I'm going to say the United States looks really, really good. I live here. My family lives here. Um, I like the things that's happening. It makes me really sad, the thing with Tesla. I'm going to try to get that figured out in terms of my own stuff. I mean, obviously, um, people need a place to put their hatred. Too much fire. Okay, so right now we are going to do a mantra session because I found the mantra that will protect you from the underworld. Now that there's no longer that wall, that Brahmavara between your consciousness and your subconscious, which the Catholic Church calls hell, we need a protection. I found the mantra. So here it is. It's part of a Kundalini mental yoga that I did 15 years ago. And I swear the the bad guys won on this one. Okay? The bad guys won on that because I should have put that out and never stopped. I should have done that that yoga class every week, and I dropped it. Those were the bad spirits. They have the ability to make you forget things. Anyway, that's in the listing of Tibetan, the listing that in Tibetan psychiatry about spirits. There's a group of them that make you forget. Okay. Okay. So here's the mantra. Look how interesting. It's long. And those are the beings that are in the underworld. It's not just pieces of us. There's a whole civilizations underneath. I didn't believe it either. I really did not believe it either. And let's get some music. The mantra is repeated in silence. You don't move your mouth with the words. You expel the breath through your mouth. And let's get, I'm going to have to get some. Kundalini would be second chakra. Here's the trick. This is for the sexual chakra. Your Kundalini is not in your first chakra. It's in your second chakra. So let's just do 5 minutes of this and just visualize that you're 3 inches below your belly button. So the mantra, which I got from the dolphins, the entire Kundalini mental yoga program, this mantra is to protect us from beings that can now invade us so easily because there is no wall, there's no door. It's like your house. You leave the door open, some bad people come in, you finally get the bad people out, and then you leave the door open again, or now there's no door. How are you going to keep the bad people out? Well, a lot of it has to do with vibration. What is your vibration? And because we have so much garbage in our underworld, which is our subconscious, bad frequency, the stuff, leave your emotions at the door when you go to work. Go to therapy and talk about your father was god awful. Oh my God. But don't scream, which is what you need. Don't cry. They don't like that. Don't process the emotion. Talk about it intellectually. Talk is your mental body. Your emotions is your astral spirit body. Nobody ever takes care of that. And that's the ones that the spirits bother. And these beings that are coming up from underneath, that by the way have been coming up from the underworld since, um, particularly heavily since the BP oil accident in the Gulf of Mexico. And if you check, because I said it in advance and then I checked afterwards, the augmentation of really yuck psychological issues and really sick people in the Gulf after that Gulf oil accident was due to the beings that were coming in up through that hole. That accident broke the Brahmavada. It broke through, and that was it. That was it. And then it took a lot of years for things to reach the point now, and now there's no door for us individually. The planet doesn't have it. We don't have it individually either. Anyway, we live in very interesting times, and there are remedies for basically everything, but not having the proper information. And I'm going to say this, the ethics departments in universities and in professions are killing everybody. Because even when I took care of a child that was basically in hospice but sent home 2 years old because she wasn't going to make it, and somebody called and said, "Do you think you can help?" And I said, "I have no idea." And they said, "Let's try." I said, "Sure." I checked, and somebody had done black magic on the mother when she was pregnant, and it landed on the child. Somebody did not want for the mother to have this child. This happens a lot. And so the child was born with black magic for dying, and the child was in her death process. Anyway, I removed the black magic, and this coma that the child was in, within 30 minutes, the child woke up. So within days or weeks, the child was not on her deathbed any longer. But the family could not get a medical doctor to come to the home to check the child because the child was in hospice. That was it. It was over there. There was no need for a medical doctor, was there? Because they had already declared that that's it. She was in her death process. Well, they didn't take care of what was causing it. I did. She was no longer in her death process, but they weren't hearing. So it took them 3 months to get to the home of this family and look at the child and go, well, I guess she's not dying. Um, but there was a point there having to do with ethics. I wrote it up, I documented it. The family allowed me to do that. I just couldn't say that the reason she was dying was because of black magic. They didn't want the family to hear that or people, whatever. So, but I wrote it up and I sent it on to two or three friends of mine that are doctors. I said, "What do you think of this?" But I did tell them that it was black magic. It was to the public that I couldn't say that it was black magic. And two out of the three responded and said, "Yeah, I know. I've had patients like that." that I figured that it was they would say something like that rather than saying black magic because you can't use those words. Who decided that? The spirit world, their influence. So anyway, they know, but they can't do anything because of ethics. By the way, Colombian doctors are really, really good. They don't really care about ethics when it comes to taking care of it. And I'm not Colombian, and I don't have a Colombian doctor in my family, but they're really good. They really don't care. Their intuition is honed, and they're going to use it because their intention to cure you, heal you, help you is stronger than their fear of an ethics department. They may not even I'm sure they must have an ethics department. I'm just letting you know they're really good. Okay? We need to be that here. But we have to get that ethics department out of everybody's way. Plus the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church is falling on its own. But we have to tell people the history of science so that they can understand how they ended up backed into a corner with all this interesting, fascinating things happen galactically and aliens and spirits and unusual things. And they can't participate to help us because they're not allowed. Got to take care of that. Thank you. And we will see you then, I guess, in a couple of days. Thank you for joining me.